Our first tab up here on the top called Design is where we find all of our global settings. So for this video, let's dive in here and take a closer look at what we've got cooking. Global settings for your site are a collection of settings that determine defaults for your site. Default styling settings, sizing settings, layout settings, all of which apply site-wide and can save you a bunch of time at the end of the day by preventing you from having to make these styling configurations multiple times. Let's click into Global Text. Here is where we can find the global settings for all of your paragraph text as we see here first, followed by H1s or header ones, and scrolling down we have H2, 3, 4, and so on. All text on your site is classified as either paragraph text or ranked as some sort of header text, depending on how featured or prominent the text sits on your page. Header text also contributes to your site's SEO, so it's good to take some time and assign these classifications accordingly. For each classification here, you can configure font, size, color, format, direction, and hyperlink format, and we've even got a few more options here by clicking More Options. And we've got font weight and line height as well. This is especially helpful if you're working with one of our templates as your starting block, and while you may want to keep the site structure the same, you can use these global settings to change the appearance or tone of the site to more closely match the vibe or industry that you're tapping into. Any changes you make here will apply to all text of the matching classification, with the exception of any text you've made individual customization to, as noted here on the top. Edits to individual elements override the global style as set here in this panel. So just because you configure something here in this panel does not mean that you're handcuffed to this style no matter what. You can still make individual changes to anything in the site just like normal, and those settings will always take precedence. Let's click our back button here and click into Buttons. Same concept applies here. You can pick the default button shape first and foremost with this flyout panel, then followed by a myriad of settings here under Button Style by designing some background color, a border, hover settings, rounded corners, and so on. And the button text here under this tab with all the same text styling controls that you're used to. Next up in our global design is Images. Similar setup again, you can assign a default layout style here first, along with border, corner, and shadows here as well. Next up here we have rows, and this can be especially handy if you plan to add a lot of content to a pre-existing template. You can configure the default background color, all the default spacing settings of the row itself, and the columns inside, so everything matches up nicely. Couple more here, let's click into Site Background. Here is where you can configure backgrounds for your site pages, whether that be colors or images. You've got an option here to do it site-wide or assign it to specific pages. So anytime you're viewing a page that has a background image that's stagnant or not scrolling, that's visible in a row, that's actually a page background image that's been added in, visible via a transparent row. And this would be the place to change that. And finally, let's click over to Site Layout. This is kind of a master hub where you can switch around the layout structure of the three devices and where the menus are located. You can see we have top-level navigation, sidebar navigation, navigation with sliding side panels, all kinds of stuff. And feel free to play around as an automatic backup of the site will be created when you make changes here just for extra safety.
For more training videos, please go to www.ignitescienceandvisual.com.au.